Today on Rappler.
All donations are properly receipted and promptly turned over to their intended beneficiaries.
Parañaque Bishop Jesse Mercado denies he diverted millions in church donations meant for calamity victims. The U.S. State Department says despite efforts, the Philippines hasn't done enough to fight human trafficking. And comedy king Dolphy is in very critical condition. Hello, I'm Chai Hofilenia, sitting in for Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Complaints against Parañaque Bishop Jesse Mercado reached the Vatican. He is being accused of allegedly diverting funds meant for calamity victims. We brought to you that exclusive story Monday. Now the bishop speaks up in his defense. Rappler's Paterno Esmaquel reports.
Parañaque Bishop Jesse Mercado denies accusations he diverted millions in church donations meant for calamity victims to a high-yield account. Mercado claims the funds are properly accounted for and admits some funds were added to what he calls a calamity fund.
All donations are properly receipted and promptly turned over to their intended beneficiaries. In urgent cases, for example, Ondoy and Sendong, the diocese even advanced the amounts even before the second collections were mandated.
In an exclusive report, Rappler shows records of millions of supposedly unremitted funds. These include an unremitted 1.3 million pesos from 1.6 million collected for victims of Tropical Storm Ondoy in 2009. For fire victims in 2010, records show 129,000 pesos in donations were entirely unremitted. Mercado, however, refuses to give Rappler receipts of donations and disbursements. He engages in a heated exchange with Rappler's Aris Rufo.
So when I will request for all the receipts of the donations and the disbursement, you will give it to me?
No, that depends. What for? Why are you asking for that?
You're challenging the story that it's not true. So if I will ask for all the donations received for all the calamity victims and all the disbursements, will you be able to give it to me?
Well, we ask first. I think we have the right to ask also. Why?
For publication.
What
for
for?
transparency.
What for?
For transparency.
Are we required to present to you? Why are we required to send it to you?
So are you telling me that you won't give it to me?
No, I'm not telling you that. But why are you asking for it?
For transparency, Bishop.
Why do you have to? What do you mean by transparent? Do we have to be transparent to you?
That's the issue within your diocese, financial transparency.
Okay, so let us move on. So the question was made. The answer was.
My answer is we can be transparent, but if we have people who we are able to present that. And if you want, it's always available.
Can you just make a categorical statement that you will give the documents to me?
It depends.
Okay.
Why do you want it? I have the right to ask, why do you want it?
Initially, the bishop also denies receiving an interview request on Rappler's exclusive. He says the request he got was for an interview on the Natural Family Planning Program.
We referred you to the chairman of the Diocesan Commission on Family and Life. Now, I don't know whether you contacted the chairman or not, but
That's a lie, Bishop. Who told you that?
The office. You were saying that you wanted to interview.
Yes, right? I've been trying to call you and email you.
Yes.
bpgen@yahoo.com.
Yes.
You haven't answered.
Because I felt that you would talking about the National Family.
I was very specific in telling you that I'm after the issues surrounding the Parañaque diocese.
When it came to that, sabi ko, in the first place, I think there will be a forum for that. In other words, I do not simply entertain people I do not know about things that we are talking about, issues that pertain to our diocese.
So you're admitting that was able to contact me. In the same way that I'm trying to call your cell phone right now.
Yeah.
And you haven't answered.
I haven't answered because I thought this was on the family plan.
Mercado also blames disgruntled priests for accusations against him.
I have to admit it is sad because somehow, these are some of them are presented by our priests. We could have done this by talking together. I think there are some priests who are just desperate.
Mercado says he's willing to step down if proven guilty by the Vatican. Paterno Esmaquel, Rappler, Manila.
Despite significant efforts in fighting human trafficking, the U.S. State Department says the Philippines has not done enough. In its Trafficking in Persons report, the Philippines remains in Tier 2 of the three-tier system. Tier 2 countries, quote, do not fully comply with the minimum standards of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, but are making significant efforts to bring themselves to comply with those standards. The report says the Philippines is a source country and to a much lesser extent, a destination and transit country for sex trafficking and forced labor. Despite efforts to comply, one gray spot for the Philippine government is the failure to make progress in prosecuting illegal recruiters. The Philippines was also ranked Tier 2 in 2011. It was downgraded to the Tier 2 watch list category in 2010. The Philippine government welcomes the assessment. Vice President Jejubar Binay says, quote, under President Benigno Aquino III's leadership and in a span of 2 years, we have exceeded what the previous administration had accomplished in 5 years. U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton says at the unveiling of the report, up to 27 million people are living in slavery around the world. Human trafficking takes many guises and is not just about moving people across borders to trap them in prostitution. It can be someone who remains in her own country but is kept in forced labor and denied the right to leave. Interior and Local Government Secretary Jesse Robredo believes Jordanian journalist Bakr Atiani is still with Abu Sayyaf and has not been kidnapped. Robredo wants him deported once he resurfaces. He also wants Atiani banned from entering the Philippines in the future. The DILG chief says Atiani went to Sulu to interview the Abu Sayyaf leadership without informing authorities and refused offers of a security detail. Robredo adds Atiani and his 2 Filipino crew members are somewhere in Patikul, Sulu in the custody of Abu Sayyaf leader Nadsmir Ali, but are not being held against their will. Atiani, age 43, is the bureau chief for Southeast Asia of the Al Arabiya News Channel. He met with Al-Qaeda leaders Osama bin Laden and Ayman al-Zawahiri near Kandahar, Afghanistan in June 2001, months before 9/11. The Civil Aeronautics Board, or CAB, issues a directive suspending previous orders meant to address consumer complaints on overbooking and no refund rules. CAB says plans to temporarily address the complaints are postponed to shift focus on ironing out the Passenger Bill of Rights. Public hearings will be conducted to give all stakeholders a chance to participate in crafting the bill. In a text message, CAB Executive Director Carmelo Arcilla says, quote, the bill will be issued soon. Former Senator Rene Saguisag declines his nomination for the post of Chief Justice, citing his age. In a statement emailed to the Judicial and Bar Council, Saguisag says he is already 72, past the mandatory retirement age of 70 for Supreme Court justices. Saguisag says he had turned down several nominations for the SC. He was appointed to the High Court in 1987 by then-President Corazon Aquino, but he declined. So far, 11 nominees, none of them Supreme Court justices, accepted their nominations. They include De La Salle Law Dean Jose Manuel Jocno, Commission on Elections official Rene Sarmiento, former Executive Secretary Ronaldo Zamora, retired Judge Manuel Sianco Jr., former Ateneo Law Dean Cesar Villanueva, University of the Philippines professors Katrina Legarda and Rafael Morales, and former UP Law Dean Raul Pangalangan. In related news, all 14 SC magistrates have been nominated for the post of Chief Justice. Of the 14, Justices Estela Perlas Bernabe and Mariano del Castillo have declined their nominations. Senator Coco Pimentel faces the tough choice of parting ways with an old ally or staying and compromising his principles. Rappler's Ayi Makaraig reports on the complicated choices and friendships in Philippine politics.
It's complicated is how Senator Coco Pimentel describes his relationship with the United Nationalist Alliance. Pimentel is in the process of deciding whether or not to leave UNA over the inclusion of resigned Senator Mig Zubiri in its senatorial slate for 2013. But even before Facebook popularized the status, Pimentel admits he has long been in a relationship with his party, PDP Laban. It's actually a 30-year-old relationship he inherited from his father, former Senator Nene Pimentel, and mentor Vice President Jejo Marbinay. The ties are rooted in the anti-Marcos movement when two parties, Pimentel's PDP and Senator Ninoy Aquino's Laban, entered a political marriage in 1982.
Jojo was a minor player at that time. Bata pa si Jojo noon dito sa Metro Manila politics. But Jojo, incidentally, was very active already in meron kaming lawyers noon Mabini ang tawag.
During Cory Aquino's presidency, then Interior and Local Government Minister Pimentel was instrumental in installing Binay as OIC Mayor of Makati, launching his political career. When original Laban members broke into factions, Binay stuck it out with PDP Laban. Even without the power, money, and numbers of big parties, PDP Laban endures thanks to the ties of its two stalwarts.
One can say that they embody the merger of PDP and Laban. And one can also say that these two durable leaders were the ones who kept the party alive.
When the elder Pimentel retired from politics in 2010, Binay founded the Pimentel Center for Local Governance to help him continue his advocacy. Just last February, the Pimentels and Binay celebrated the 30th anniversary of PDP Laban, their political alliance and friendship. But with Coco Pimentel thinking of leaving Binay's new coalition, will he change the status to single? Una hopes not, but Pimentel Jr. says he's ready to stand by his son.
The Vice President considers Senator Coco as a son, no less.
Ako naman, even relationships of that kind, meron hangganan. Ang hangganan doon, when principles get trounced by practicality, hindi ko na tatanggapin yun.
Whatever his son's decision will be, the former senator says one thing is sure. He will never totally unfriend Binay.
I wish him well, no matter what happens.
Ayi Makaraig, Rappler.
Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 1, leaders of the world's largest economies end talks in Mexico on the second and last day of the G20 summit. The leaders affirmed their commitment to strong, sustainable, and balanced growth as the top priority of the G20. The leaders also agreed to put up a united front behind efforts to repair an ailing global economy and call on Europe to take measures to overcome the Eurozone debt crisis. At number 4, Pakistan's Supreme Court declares Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani ineligible to hold office, following his refusal to reopen a corruption case against Pakistani President Asif Ali Zardari. At number 7, in a last-ditch effort to fight his extradition, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange seeks political asylum in Ecuador. Last week, the British Supreme Court dismissed Assange's last-ditch effort to prevent his extradition. A case of sexual misconduct was filed by 2 former employees against Assange in Sweden. He fears he will be handed over to U.S. authorities, who will then charge him for leaking confidential U.S. diplomatic cables on his website. At number 8, Miami Heat is now just one win away from taking home the 2012 NBA championship after fending off Oklahoma City Thunder in their 104-98 victory in Game 4 of their best-of-7 series. Oklahoma will have to win the remaining 3 games to nail the championship. No team in NBA history has ever come back from a 3-1 deficit to take the crown. And at number 9, a recent study by the Pew Research Center shows that Asian Americans have overtaken Latinos as the fastest growing ethnic group in the United States, fueled largely by the steady stream of immigrants to the U.S. annually. In 2010, 36% of new U.S. immigrants were Asian. The study also shows that Asian Americans are also the best educated and the highest income racial group. Broken down further, Chinese Americans at 23% are the largest Asian immigrant group, closely followed by Filipinos at 20%. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Actor Eric Quezon says Father Dolphy is in very critical condition. Known as the king of comedy, Dolphy, Rodolfo Quezon Sr. in real life, is an icon of Philippine movies and TV. Dolphy is 84. Eric says his father was breathing on his own for 6 hours Monday, but they had to put him back on the respirator. He says they can no longer speak with Dolphy, but he responds to whatever they say. The comedy king is now under 24-hour observation. The younger Quezon says Dolphy was diagnosed 5 years ago with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. COPD is a progressive disease that makes breathing difficult. Quezon says his father's condition can change anytime. Pag-asa says Tropical Storm Karina, international name Talim, now 440 kilometers north-northwest of Basco, Batanes, is about to enter the Philippines. In its 5 p.m. bulletin, the weather agency says northern and central Luzon will experience occasional rains which may trigger flash floods and landslides. Aside from Talim, Pag-asa also spots another low-pressure area 750 kilometers east of eastern Visayas. The rest of the country will be partly cloudy with isolated rain showers or thunderstorms. No public storm warning signals have been raised. That's Rappler's Newscast for today, Wednesday, June 20, 2012. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter. I'm Chai Hofilenia. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today. We'll leave you with images from the Rappler documentary, The Falling Sky.
I want to forget Sindong, but it's here. It happened. It's something that shouldn't happen again. And what happened in Egan can also happen anywhere else. I don't want people to remember Sindong just because it happened in Iligan, but because it could happen anywhere. It's not because it's my mom's hometown. It just happened to be my mom's hometown. When I say Sindong, now this exhibit is about Sindong, it's not true. This exhibit is about any flood, any storm. This exhibit is not about Iligan. It's can be any other city, any other town, any other province.